morning, you guys. Oh my goodness. I am just so excited to be back with you again for episode 3. Can you believe it? Oh, thank you for your support and your love. The response to last week's podcast was pretty amazing, and I'm even getting more notifications about the first podcast I put out, and so I'm just really grateful. Thanks so much. I'm so appreciative of everybody. Today, I want to bring to you some amazing information that has really transformed my life and transformed my mind and continue to transform my heart, my spirit, my business, just my every single day walk of life. And that is affirmations. Affirmations partnered with belief or faith. And so we're going to be talking about affirmations, how this relates to our life, to our business, and then belief. And then we're going to kind of go from there and see where it leads us. Okay. So let's talk about, so affirmations have been a part of my life for a long time, even before I started Inspire Leadership Academy, even before I moved to Alaska. Way back when I first started getting clean and sober, started going to church, I was presented with this book by Joyce Meyer called The Battlefield is in the Mind. That was my first real introduction to the fact that our brain can sometimes hold beliefs that aren't true for us anymore. And those beliefs that we hold from past situations, if we continue to hold those same beliefs, will just continue to give us the same things we've experienced in our past. And that's definitely not what we want to continue to do, right? And so in order to shift our life, the first things we have to do is shift our thoughts. And so this is a biblical principle even. The Bible talks about as a man thinks, so is he. There's also a scripture that I'd like to pull up and share with you. It talks about, and whatever we ask for in prayer, we will receive if you have faith. So that's that belief part we're going to talk about. If we walk by faith, not by sight. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That's that continuing to just live that same path of existence without the shift, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And that is really the case. To speak what we want to live or what we want to experience into existence, then to believe it is gonna be a shift and gonna be a challenge at first. It's gonna sometimes even feel like it's a lie. The things we begin to start to talk about, and just speaking those things that are not in your life as though they are, also a biblical scripture. And I'd also love to share with you another book that has helped me so much that I did learn once I took Inspire Leadership Academy, is the You Can Heal Your Life book by Louise Hay. Louise Hay is now passed away, but she was an older woman who, because of her walk in life, she had a traumatized childhood. She went on to live her life, and she ended up getting cancer. And during this process of getting cancer, decided that she was going to work on this idea that what if we shift our thoughts? What if the feelings that we feel in our bodies really are just our thoughts felt physiologically? And what if we could shift our thoughts just by the mere idea of shifting our thoughts and doing that work through affirmations, through the awareness that the thought is there, and then through affirming a new thought pattern, that we could actually heal our body. And she, throughout this process and throughout her learning, was actually able to heal her own body. And in her practice and what she did in her career, countless people also were able to be successfully healed because of the shifting of their thoughts, the shifting of that thought pattern, which then goes right down into our physiological body and shifts our body and heals our body. How incredibly amazing. It's what we're actually called to do. We are, like I said in the past podcast, we are spiritual beings living a human existence. And we have this spiritual power to recognize our thoughts, shift that thought pattern, and heal our life. So let's talk more about that. So let's talk about affirmations and kind of my story surrounding affirmations. This is kind of at a very basic level of just feeling safe for me. So we talked about my experience of just not feeling as safe outside of my home, not feeling safe outside of my own body. And so one of my very first affirmations I began to create for myself was that I am safe. I am safe. And just realizing that those thoughts that I was holding that told me that I was unsafe really were causing a physiological shift inside of my body that would then create experiences of unsafe experiences that would just go back to my mind and prove to my mind that it was right again. So this would look like when I was a single mother, I practiced this I'm not safe behavior a lot of times. I mean, I still struggle with this very thing of having to make up in my mind that I am safe. So it is actually an affirmation I use to this very day. And I experience much more safe experiences out in the world because I have really absorbed that idea and the belief that I am safe. And when I was first starting this, I did not have the belief that I was safe. It felt very much like I was just stating something that wasn't true, just kind of a fake it till you make it kind of situation. So I would practice this I am safe. And then one morning I am getting ready. I'm living in the first apartment I ever lived in with Angelica and Jaden. And I'm standing in the bathroom and Angelica remembers this experience to this day. And I am doing my makeup, getting ready, and Angelica and Jaden are down near me, little peeps. They were like 3 and a little baby right next to me. And I'm looking in the mirror and I go, oh my gosh, my car was stolen. I just had this knowing inside of my spirit that my car had been stolen, my van that I had had. And sure enough, I go look out and my van has been stolen. What a scary experience to be a single mother. That is my only mode of transportation. I have worked very hard to get to that place of even having that vehicle. I have my baby's car seats in there. I have things I can't afford to replace in there. And here we are, my vehicle's been stolen. So those kinds of things would continue to play out in my life until I had the knowing that I am safe. The reality is, we're humans living on this planet. And so we do sometimes just crash into each other. Whatever people got going on, we just crash into each other. And so there are some times that no matter what we say or do, we're going to have experiences that are outside of our control. So I'm not saying we can control everything. What I am saying is that a great multitude of things that we experience are because of the thoughts we're holding in our mind and the beliefs we're holding inside of our heart and our spirit. And so that is what I'd like to work with on shifting with myself and with each one of you today. So the other thing let's talk about. We talked about Louise Hay having cancer and having healed her body from this cancer. That is reality. When I look into her You Can Heal Your Life book, she has this amazing resource at the very end where she gives this, she calls it the list, and she gives this list of ailments that people have, whether it be gout or heart disease or cancer or um, a broken bone or a hernia or something like that. And she has the thought pattern that are the probable cause of why that's there. Most oftentimes, let's look one up. Let's look one up. Okay. So I just recently had this infection. We talked about my last um, podcast, right? So let's look up infection. My dear friend Doris, she shared this with me a week or so ago. And I think a little reluctantly so, because she wasn't sure how I was going to take it. But she goes, Jen, you had that infection, and I was just looking up in the Louise Hay book, and I don't know if you read that. And just pure loving, she was pouring all over me to help me to have this awareness so that I don't ever have to have or deal with an infection, if it's within my ability to do so. So let's look it up. So infection is the problem. And the probable cause is irritation, anger, and annoyance. And when she read that to me, I just giggled because I definitely have been experiencing that. And that's something that I have this recent awareness of, man, I've been holding some serious judgments about myself, about other people, a few people really close to me and my family. How interesting is that? And what a beautiful, beautiful gift that our bodies give us. That if we just get quiet and be willing enough to see what's there, the body just answers our call. And so irritation, anger, and annoyance, for sure. If I'm really honest with myself, I can see where that has been going on for some time, right? And then my new thought pattern is I choose to be peaceful and harmonious. So how beautiful we have that ability to just choose to be peaceful and harmonious. So my job then is to work this out, is to take this information, use it as a tool and a resource, and go, okay, well, anytime I am feeling this feeling of irritation, anger, or annoyance, I can then choose to be peaceful and harmonious instead. Anytime I'm irritated, anytime I'm angry, anytime I'm annoyed, I'm going to go, oh, here's God knocking on the door, right? Like we were talking about in episode 2. Let me choose. I have choice. I have the ability to choose now. I am not a little girl walking home from school, afraid to go into her house. I'm not her. I'm not her anymore. I am her, but I'm not experiencing that any longer. Now I have choice. I can choose to be peaceful and harmonious. And so that is my intention. I then take this practice, and I'm going to probably write this in a book, write this in my journal. I'm going to write it maybe on a card. I might write it on my bathroom mirror. I might stick it places where I can review this multiple times a day. I might set an alarm on my iPhone to go off multiple times a day that say, I choose to be peaceful and harmonious. Anytime I might be feeling some irritation or some anger or some disrupt, right? Or I'm just going to do it regardless of whether I'm feeling it, because I want to heal this place in myself. I want to be sure I'm not getting an infection, that I can control the outcome of whether or not I get an infection. So I'm going to work on this idea. And so I'm going to speak this out multiple times a day. And I tell my coaching clients at least twice a day, at least in the morning, at least in the evening. You want to be speaking your affirmations over your life. You want to speak those things that are not as though they are over your life. Then you want to feel what it feels like to be peaceful and harmonious. You want to sit and be present in that moment and visualize yourself peaceful and harmonious. What does that look like? Well, for me, peaceful and harmonious looks like I'm breathing deeply. I'm not breathing in shallow breath. Peaceful and harmonious means I'm not in reactive mode. I'm in responsive mode. Peaceful and harmonious means I'm doing the things that fill me. I'm gardening. I'm in the dirt. I'm in my backyard. Those types of things. Peaceful and harmonious means I'm starting my day with a miracle morning, like I love to do, where I am doing the things that fill me up to start my day so that I'm pouring from a cup of overflow rather than a cup of undertow, or from my cup that's an undertow. Okay. We want to be always pouring from our overflow. So that is the idea. And then believe that it is possible to shift. Let go of the idea that this is some kind of BS or isn't true for you or will work for somebody else, but not for you. The fact of the matter that even if you just read that affirmation, it's going to begin to make shifts for you in your life, whether you want it to or not. That's the power of our word. Words have extreme power. And on our next podcast that's going to be coming up, I'm going to be sharing with you the story of how powerful our words are and how powerful our faith can be when it is an emergency and you need to put it into action right now and you need to see a shift right now. So I promised you guys I was going to be very mindful of your time. We are under 20 minutes. Look at that. Thank you so much for coming and being a part of this journey. I did not imagine. I have been being told to have a podcast for at least about 3 years, I think. I've been talking about having a podcast. I put it on my vision board a little over 2 years ago. As my podcast came out, and I got super excited to see, oh my gosh, I'm on Audible. Can you believe it? My podcast is on Audible and Apple Music and all those places. How amazing. Or Apple Podcasts, I'm sorry. Amazon. I went and looked at my vision board, and there it is. I had put on my vision board in 2020 that I was going to be on Audible and be on Apple Music and have this podcast that really does shift and changes the way that we live and improves the way that we're living our lives and working our businesses. And how incredibly exciting. And what I have noticed that I did not expect is how amazingly healing and positive it's been for me. I'll do a podcast and I'll listen to it a couple of times, and that is like journaling times 10. So I don't know if anybody else out there has been told to do a podcast. Well, if you have, please go out there and do a podcast, write the book, do the blog, write whatever what you feel led to do, because I'm going to tell you, there's some breakthrough there when you choose to step forward in faith and trusting that this is for you. There is going to be a miracle and a breakthrough for you there. So I invite you to just jump in. Thank you so much for being a part of my morning this morning. Happy Thursday. Have an amazing day. And until next time, you guys, be